a grade doesn't define you, and if you get a good grade, that's amazing, but if you don't, it doesn't mean you're any less of a person. Hi there, my name's Georgia, and welcome to The Lazy Student. Today's video is going to be a story time, which is slightly different for this channel, but I'm going to see how it goes. Now, this story time is based off of a blog which you can check out in the link in the description below. It's called My Dissertation DISSaster, which is a pretty good summary of how my entire university career went. So we'll start at the beginning. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my university experience, all the way up into completing my dissertation and what happened after graduation. I'm going to pull out a couple points throughout and make sure that we all learn a good lesson from this experience, and hopefully you can resonate with some of the points, or you can learn what not to do. So yeah, I decided to go to Stirling University. I got two unconditional offers. I got an offer for film and media, and I got an offer for film and media and psychology. I know that a lot of you are thinking, but you graduated in politics. I'm sure I read. Yes, I did, which is part of this disaster story. I didn't want to go to university, but my family did want what was best for me and kind of led me into getting a good degree so that I could follow my passions after university, but also have a degree to fall back on. Now, that was the plan. However, a few months after graduation, I'm definitely finding out that unfortunately having a degree doesn't necessarily just get you a job, especially the degree I got. So I think that it is a huge lesson learned, and I think that you should only go to university if you really want to go, but that's kind of a different story. So I get to university. During my first year, I study film and media and psychology as a joint honours, so that's the degree offer that I accepted. I really enjoyed film and media, and that was my passion, and that was something that I really wanted to do. Psychology was not my true passion, but unfortunately as the year progressed, I found out that I was not getting good grades. Now, I did okay in school. I got my highers, I got an A and a couple Bs. I did well enough in school, but the jump to university was definitely different. It was only during my final year of school that I found out I was dyslexic, so I think that I was kind of struggling with that and trying to find ways in which I could learn, which I hadn't quite caught up in school just yet, the best ways to learn and study for my dyslexia. So I think that going into university, I did definitely have a drive to succeed and to study well, but I also knew I didn't want to be there, and I was much more interested in becoming a film director or a singer or something, so I was kind of revolting slightly against it. I ended up getting, I think, a 2-2 and 2 3s, so 2/3. So I don't know the equivalent of that, it's like a B and 2 Cs, which was enough to get me on second year, which was good, so I wasn't quite kicked out of university or anything. But then I progressed knowing I'll continue these subjects, but I don't know if university is working out for me. So what I did, I came back for second year, really put my head down and decided to really study, spent a lot of time in the library, and I ended up getting 2 2s most of that year, if not for every single subject. So I definitely saw an improvement. However, I was still not doing well in psychology, or film media for that matter. I was doing much better in English, but I thought English isn't really going to get me a career, which is of course not the case. But I tried to use my better judgment. I dropped psychology in the end, and eventually that led to me dropping film and media, also taking an extra module during my third year, and then graduating with a Bachelor of Honours in Politics. At my university, the University of Stirling, you could take 3 modules every semester. Now, there was 2 that you had to take, and there was 1 elective module. So in my first year it was English, in my second year it was politics, and I had always loved politics. I had an amazing modern studies teacher, loved it at school, and decided, you know, I am really interested in it, and I was getting the grades. I was getting 2 1s in it, or at least very high 2 2s, and I thought, you know, if I want to get a 2-1 at the end of my degree path, because it had been hammered into me that unless you got a 2-1, like, it doesn't matter, your degree is not as good. So yeah, I took politics through interest, but mostly to get a good degree out of it. So that was a really difficult third year, taking 4 modules. I was also the module representative for all 4 modules, something I didn't think I'd get. So that was a really busy time of year as well. And during my second year, my migraines started getting worse to the point where it was really, really affecting my work. And I've had migraines for the past 10 or 11 years, but they suddenly became really chronic during my university career, especially in second year. Now this, alongside my dyslexia, was having a really hard toll on me. My migraines are, I'll do a separate video on my migraines, but I get atypical migraine with aura, which means that I can get really bad migraines where I can't really see anything in front of me. I am sick as a dog for days upon days, and I was getting them every 2 to 3 days, and it was a 5-day recovery for me. So I was never not feeling like. So that started taking a toll. I think that, alongside not really wanting to be at university a lot of the time, was a really difficult mix for me, and something that I wasn't really facing head on, kind of being honest with myself about, to the sense of I had nothing else to do. I didn't want to go to college, I didn't want to get a job and live in the real world. So I stayed at university and decided, you know what, I've got 2 years left, I'm really gonna freaking try my absolute hardest, buck up and just get on with it. I've only got 2 years left and I'm gonna make the most of it. So during my third year, I ended up getting 2 1s. I think I maybe got 1 2 2 out of all the 4 modules, but I did really well compared to looking back at my first year and getting thirds. I then maintained that during my fourth year. It got harder and harder. My migraines got worse and worse. I was in and out of hospital, but I did my absolute best and didn't let it be an excuse, tried not to let it get me down. I've always suffered from anxiety, but my anxiety and depression got worse during fourth year. I think I felt this enormous amount of pressure on myself that was from external factors as well as internal factors, and I just wanted what was best for me. And I kept thinking, if you don't get a 2-1, this is it, like it's the be all and end all in life, which it isn't. But I kind of felt this huge pressure on my shoulders that it really did take a toll, and I started kind of not speaking to as many friends and not really attending as many clubs, and just becoming obsessed really with kind of trying to study and do my degree. I've never been a big drinker, I don't really go out to nightclubs, it's not really my scene, so I really did kind of fall out of love with quite a few things that I was excited about and interested in. And then came the title of, I think, this video and the title of the blog, which was my dissertation disaster. So basically, when you are in third year, you get assigned your dissertation supervisor. My supervisor is a lovely lady who is very sure of what she wants in a pupil and what work they should produce. Now, I'd already had a lot of classes with this woman, and she was one of my favourite tutors, but she was very strict. I don't know if she'll mind me saying that, I don't think she'll watch this, but she was very strong but fair. I really wanted to do my dissertation on feminism in a different way than what I think she envisioned. So I fought back a little bit about what I wanted to do my dissertation on compared to what I think she wanted me to do it on, and we kind of dulled it down to the point where it wasn't something I was passionate about anymore, in the sense of I ended up doing my final dissertation on feminism and women in the workplace, which is something I am really passionate about, but it wasn't in the way that I wanted to word it and the research that I wanted to get behind, if that makes sense. So I submitted my first chapter, first draft, at the end of my third year, and that got a 2-1, just 60. the line of a 2-1. And I was overjoyed because I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to actually get my 2-1. I'm going to pull my grades up to the point where I am sitting in the middle or high 2-1, so that I am going to get a 2-1 in this dissertation, because it was pretty weighted, like 60 credits for the dissertation compared to what we'd done in our studies so far and our modules. So I wrote that and she seemed to quite like it. There wasn't a terrible amount of change in the direction it was going, and I took the summer and I did do some work. I didn't do enough work, but my supervisor was great, my tutor was great, my university tutor was great, everyone was great, and we all really tried to band together and get this done. I did a lot of reading. I did a huge amount of reading. There's some pictures, I think, of the amount of books that I was doing in the library, trying to be that good student, trying to be in the library, trying to work my hardest. So I sat for long periods of time in the library trying to write my dissertation. It was really difficult. I think everyone who's ever written a dissertation has struggled, even if they like the topic. But one tip I can say is that if you don't like the topic, it is really, really difficult to write about something that you're not taking from an angle that you're passionate about. I submitted the second chapter, and this was about a month, 3.5 weeks, a month before our final deadline, and my teacher did not like it. There was a lot of feedback and I had to basically change everything I'd done and start again. And this was the biggest blow ever because I'd put so much work into it. I really thought that I was doing something good, and I think that can be really tough when you think that you've done your best, you think that you've done a really good job of something, and you end up not getting the mark that you think you deserve. So I think that was a really difficult time period for me, and then I had to kind of band together and say, I've only got a couple weeks, oh my goodness, my dissertation's due in like 2 or 3 weeks. So every single day I was at the library, I was reading, I was taking notes, I was doing doubles with my tutor, trying to make everything kind of go my way. And dissertations don't sound like a lot. It was 10,000 words. I was like, that's a few essays and a couple summaries and a conclusion. It is the most intense writing I've ever done in my life. It got to the night before where I had been working almost non-stop. I hadn't been going to other classes, nothing. I had just been working non-stop on this dissertation, and I was in the library with this one day to go, and I just had the conclusion and the summary to write, which I thought, a couple thousand words, it's all good, I'm gonna get it done. I didn't get it done. I sat in the library, I sat in the library for 27 hours without sleeping a wink. The porters, by the way, are total saviors at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're getting you a cookie or you just want to chat just for a break. They're the best. Yeah, it was an experience kind of sitting there with loads of books, wall of crazy, trying to get this thing done. And I wrote and thought, do you know what, I've done really well here. Like, I've basically got this finished. And by about 7 or 8 o'clock that morning, my boyfriend came in, my tutor did also, and they read it. And it wasn't the feedback I was looking for, let's put it that way. There was a lot of errors in it. There was some continuity issues with my writing. Obviously I'd stayed up past 24 hours. I thought I was finished and they said, look, you're gonna need to go back to it and redraft. Now I had till 12 o'clock. The deadline was 12 in the afternoon and it was not gonna happen, but I didn't know that. So what I did is I went home, I slept for 1 hour, I got back up, I went back to the library, and I tried my absolute best to get this done. And about 3 breakdowns later, I phoned my tutor and just said, like, it is not happening today. I had written a good 500 or 600 words on the computer, taken a coffee break, and when I came back, the computer was logged out and my work had not saved. And I literally could have screamed in the middle of the library, but I didn't. And what I did was I phoned my tutor and I was like, it's just not working. I was crying my eyes out. I was like, oh, this happened, and you know, and my work deleted and everything. She was really kind. She gave me 1 extra day to do it, so I was overwhelmed with her kindness there, because if you submit something late, you get a percentage taken off, like 2 or 3% if I remember right. I thought that was going to make the difference between the 2-2 and the 2-1. Yeah, in the end, I just sat up for another night crying in the library, thinking that the world was ending, trying my absolute best. Writing academically is never something I've been good at, nor is something I don't think I'll ever excel at, so it was really tough. So eventually I kind of got it done, and I had tried my best, not just in those 2 or 3 nights at the library. I tried my best the entire time, the entire few years that I've been doing university. I knew I did my best on this project. I submitted it. I submitted a hard copy, and then the office was like, have you submitted an electronic copy? It's 1 minute to 12, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I ended up submitting like a previous draft back. It was a whole thing, like one from the day before or something. It was awful. Yeah, then I went off to summer camp to work at a summer camp, which is a completely different story. But one day, a few months later, I had my phone and I was like, right, I'm taking a break. I'm gonna read my results, and I've been looking for days, even though I knew like that was the day results came out. I was like, oh, I've got a 2-1, I've got a 2-1, I've been sitting on a 2-1, I should get a 2-1, I hope. Open the results, and I got a 2-2. And my heart fell through my butt. Not to be dramatic, but I felt like 4 years of work had literally gone to waste. In that moment, I wasn't having the best summer. I had missed graduation to be on a flight. I really hit a low point then, because I felt like all of my work. I phoned my tutor from America. I phoned my tutor and I was like, I cannot, like, I don't know what went wrong. You marked me. I mean, that first draft got a 2-1. I just don't know what happened. And she just said, well, you know, I got 57. Now, the funny thing is the university usually marks in 2s, so you'd get like 56, 58. It would go up like that, but I got a 57, and I calculated that if I'd have gotten 1 more mark, I would likely have met the threshold for the 2-1. I had a couple of graduate opportunities lined up after I got back from America, which fell through, a lot to do with different things, 1 or 2 of them to do with my grades. I didn't get the 2-1 requirement, and whether it was by a mark or not, it didn't matter to them, which was really hard, because there was a few things I was really looking forward to after coming back. And yeah, it really changed the direction that I felt like I was going in after university. And it's been tough. I always say this, and I think I say this in every blog, every video, but university was the best and the worst time of my life. And it was really weird, I think, not having graduation, not being able to wrap it all up, as well as not getting the grade that I wanted, that I had prayed, hoped, worked so hard for, to prove to myself and everyone else that I was worth. Not getting that was really, really difficult. And it's been pretty difficult since university, and I'm not saying that to scare everyone out of going to university or out of graduation or out of anything, because getting a 2-2 isn't the end of the world, getting a 3rd isn't the end of the world, passing, failing. I have met so many people in my life that have got completely different grades, or haven't even gone to university, or haven't even gone to college, or didn't even finish high school, and they are in amazing places. So I know that it is not indicative of who I am, and it doesn't mean I didn't try hard enough, because I think that if you try your absolute hardest, like I know I can tell myself I did through everything, that is all anybody can ever ask of you. And it's okay to be disappointed, but don't beat yourself up to the point where you don't feel like you're worthy, because you are. A grade doesn't define you, and if you get a good grade, that's amazing, but if you don't, it doesn't mean you're any less of a person. But yeah, to be real with you guys, obviously I graduated, let's see, it's November. I graduated in June. I spent until late August, early September in America, so I came back in those months I found it really tough to get any job actually. I don't think that's just my degree. I think that I live somewhere where the nearest city is a huge, very busy city. I think that it is difficult for everyone right now to get a job. I did get a small job. I work in a cinema. It's definitely not where I saw myself. Okay, but I have not told you this story, my experiences, just so that you are like, oh my goodness, like sucks, blah blah. The reason I told you guys my experience was so that hopefully if any of you are going through anything similar or a situation at university that feels like it is the end of the world, I promise that it is not. I'll be real with you, I've not got everything sorted out after graduation. It has been really tough and it has been more difficult getting onto graduate schemes with a 2-2. However, I'm lucky. I have a roof over my head, I have a loving family, I have a loving boyfriend, I am doing my absolute best, and again, that is all that I can ever ask of myself, and it's all that you can ever ask of yourself. So if you ever feel like you're struggling at university, make sure you learn from my experiences. Make sure going into university, whether you're going into first, third, second, whatever year, you're going into the year knowing your learning type. Now I have plenty of resources in my blog about this, but make sure you know how you best study, how you best write essays, and how long you realistically need before a deadline. Make sure you always prepare your absolute best. If you're about to undertake your dissertation, if you think that you need 2 months, give yourself 4. You will be thankful in the end, trust me. Always give yourself more time than what you think you need. Another thing to take away from this story is that if you are suffering from any kind of mental health problems such as anxiety or depression or anything related, make sure that you seek help. Speak to your family, speak to your friends, speak to a therapist, speak to your guidance counselor, speak to your doctor. Okay, because it is so much more manageable when you speak to people and you get the help that you need. University can be a really, really difficult time. It's this really intense bubble and you can feel really lost. It can be difficult to make friends. It can be really stressful when you're studying as much as you need to. You're studying as much as you are, and it is important that you feel like you've always got that support network around you. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself before anything, because your mental health is more important than your university degree. So yeah, if there's anything that you guys can take away from this, it's make sure that you are prepared, make sure you take care of yourself, and make sure that you absolutely do your best at all times. And if you've done your best, that's all you can ask of yourself. Please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe. We'll be back next week with happy content, a tips or advice or how to. Make sure that you leave a comment down below letting me know if you have ever struggled with something at university and how you overcame that. Hopefully it can help someone else out in the comments. Make sure you check out our last video on our top 5 tips on budgeting yourself at university. Make sure you check all the links left in the description box below, and make sure that you have a really good day. Bye!